Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're joining me today because, well, we're going to decode the actual science behind keeping clinical and laboratory equipment safe. And, if you work anywhere near reusable medical or lab devices, you already know the stakes are just incredibly high. Today, we are totally stripping away the guesswork. We're going to lay out the absolute rock-solid fundamentals of decontamination. The goal is to build a sort of mental framework for you so you can just instantly recognize those crucial safety boundaries in your day-to-day operations. Let's get right into it. I want to start by throwing a question your way. It might seem super simple at first. Just imagine, someone hands you a medical instrument. You hold it right up to the light. It's shining. I mean, not a smudge, not a single spot. So if that instrument looks perfectly clean, is it actually safe to use? Or even safe to handle? We naturally want to trust our eyes, right? We're practically wired to believe that if we can't see the danger, it just isn't there. But in the world of clinical and lab equipment, that assumption, it's not just wrong. It is actively, literally dangerous. Okay, let's really dive into this. When an instrument just looks clean, sure, there's no visible soil. And yeah, that's reassuring to the eye. But here's the thing. That status tells us absolutely nothing about the microscopic reality living on that surface. True safety, on the other hand, is definitely not about appearances. It's a proven outcome. It means the item went through an approved method and was properly inspected and documented. Safety is a confirmed status, period, not just a visual guess. To really get why our eyes completely deceive us here, we've got to look at where the real danger actually hides out. We're talking about residual risk, and it loves microscopic spaces. Think internal channels, super thin tubes, lumens, or those tiny crevices and hinges and seams on complex instruments. Think about it this way. To a single microbe, a microscopic scratch on a steel surface is basically the size of the Grand Canyon. It's the perfect place to just hide out and multiply. Even tiny microscopic damage or wear creates a safe harbor for pathogens. Oh, and let's not forget residual moisture. Literally a single drop of water left behind can fully support the regrowth of bacteria. It's this unseen residual risk that acts as the invisible engine driving dangerous cross-contamination. So, before we talk about exactly how to defeat these hidden risks, we need to know who our enemy actually is. Let's do a really quick run-through of the core vocabulary so we're all speaking the exact same language here. Contamination is your broad term. It basically just means any unwanted material on an item. Bioburden, though, that's specific. That is the actual number of microorganisms hanging out on the surface. Then you've got soil, which is any residue. Dust, fluids, product, whatever. But I really want you to pay close attention to this last one, organic material. We're talking blood, tissue, proteins. Organic material is a massive deal because it acts like a physical shield. It literally protects the microbes trapped underneath it. All right, so how do we actually break through that shield? Well, we rely on the fundamental sequence of decontamination. It's essentially a hierarchy of safety that scales up depending on what the equipment is actually used for. Step 1, always clean. Step 2 is disinfect. And step 3, reserved for the absolute highest level of risk, is sterilize. Let me be super clear. This order is non-negotiable. You literally cannot jump ahead. Let's break down exactly why. It all starts right here, cleaning. It's defined as the physical removal of soil and bioburden. I want you to really notice that word physical. We're using detergents, mechanical action, brushing, flushing, and rinsing to literally lift the soil right off the surface and wash it down the drain. This drops the starting microbial load way down before we even think about doing anything else. Visible soil is measurable and you have to remove it. You can never ever skip the cleaning step or just assume it's been done. Which brings us to an absolutely crucial, unbreakable rule. Residual soil neutralizes disinfectants. Think back to that organic material we just talked about, the blood, the tissue, the proteins. If you don't physically scrub that off first, it literally forms a suit of armor around the bioburden. You could spray the absolute strongest, most advanced chemical disinfectants in the world onto that instrument, and if there's residual soil, it'll completely defeat the chemical. Cleaning is the only thing that enables disinfection and sterilization to actually do their jobs. But we've got to respect the limits of cleaning too. Just because something is clean doesn't mean it's disinfected, and it definitely doesn't mean it's sterile. Getting that soil off is absolutely necessary, sure, but it is not sufficient on its own to eliminate all the risk. A perfectly clean item, like one where every bit of physical dirt and protein has been completely scrubbed away, can actually still carry thousands of viable, dangerous microorganisms. So, once that soil shield is finally gone, we can level up to our next line of defense: disinfection. Disinfection is the active reduction of viable microorganisms on an item. Now that we've already done the tough physical cleaning, that microbial shield is out of the way, meaning our disinfection agents can actually hit their targets. But pay attention to the phrasing here. It reduces the microbial load. It doesn't necessarily wipe out every single thing, and it never ever replaces that initial physical cleaning step we just talked about. Now, decontamination is definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Disinfection actually happens in tiers, completely based on the risk level. You've got low-level disinfection, which handles your vegetative bacteria and some viruses. Intermediate level bumps it up to take out tougher pathogens like mycobacteria. And then high-level disinfection, or HLD, takes care of most microorganisms. But, and this is a big but, even at the high level, it doesn't reliably destroy all bacterial spores. Because of these different tiers, there is just no such thing as a magical, universal disinfectant. The right method depends entirely on the item itself and exactly how it's going to be used. You absolutely have to follow the manufacturer's approved instructions. That means keeping the surface wet for a very specific contact time, making totally sure you have absolute full coverage of every relevant surface, and double-checking that the chemical is actually compatible with the instrument's material, so you don't accidentally melt a casing or fry some incredibly sensitive electronics. And this brilliantly illustrates why we sometimes have to go to the absolute top of the hierarchy: sterilization. Sterilization is your highest assurance level. It completely destroys all microorganisms. And yes, that includes those highly resistant bacterial spores that high-level disinfection leaves behind. So when does an item actually need this? Well, it's driven purely by how the item will be used on a patient. If a device is going to enter sterile tissue or the bloodstream, no debate, it must be sterile. But here's a really critical operational boundary you need to keep in mind. True sterilization is highly specialized. It requires strictly monitored processes, dedicated equipment, and qualified personnel to run it all. As general staff, your job isn't to necessarily perform the sterilization itself. Your job is to recognize exactly when an item crosses the line and requires that absolute highest level of processing. So what exactly happens when you hit that boundary? Or maybe you just can't confirm if an item is truly clean? Well, you rely on the safety boundary protocol. It's simple. You stop. You quarantine the item right away so it doesn't cross-contaminate your workspace. You consult the instructions, you escalate the issue to a qualified provider, and you document it. You've got to empower yourself to escalate an issue rather than just releasing an item based on a guess. Better safe than sorry, right? As we wrap up this explainer on the fundamentals of decontamination, I want to leave you with one final thought to kind of carry with you back to your workspace. When you're handling reusable clinical or lab equipment, when you are literally holding the safety of the next patient and your colleagues in your hands, are you trusting your eyes or are you trusting the process? The science is incredibly clear here. Only a validated, strictly followed hierarchy of cleaning, disinfection, and sterilization can truly guarantee safety. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. Keep questioning what you see, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.